I call this meeting to order at 6:30 p.m. and note that we have a quorum present. We have Pam Goodwin, Audra Smolenska, and Doug Hicks. Good to see or hear from you all. We need to approve the minutes of the February 3rd meeting. Do I hear a motion?
Motion.
Second?
I'll second.
All in favor? Roll call, please.
Aye.
Aye, Pam Goodwin.
Doug Hicks, aye.
James Collier, aye. Motion carries. Minutes are approved. Okay, we have two items for public hearing. Item A, consideration of the following variance request. Allow a 2-foot encroachment into the required 6.5-foot side yard setback with a proposed home addition on a 0.1377 acre lot located at 238 Ash Street, legally described as Tanglewood Addition, Lot 4, Block C, currently zoned single family residential district R 7.5, as requested by Alvaro Ramirez, the property owner. Case number 21-03-3-ZBOA.
Yes, Commissioner. So I'm going to present this case to you tonight, Michelle Berry, Planning Manager. I wanted to say the applicants aren't going to be able to make it here tonight. They do not really have internet access, but this request is to expand their existing home. They need to do that to create additional mobility, as the property owner is aging and likely will be moving into a wheelchair soon. And so what they are doing is they're proposing an expansion to the rear of the home, and they're also proposing a front porch. And you can see here's the property location on Ash Street. And here is the kind of the site plan from their building permit that they submitted. You can see this is the existing home. It's about 766 square feet. They're going to add an addition to the rear that will nearly double the size of the home, another 750 square feet. And they're going to add a covered porch area because they like to just sit outside and enjoy looking out the front. The existing home actually does encroach 2 feet into the required 6.5 side yard setback. It's only 4.5 feet from that side yard. They'd like to have the addition matching so that it's kind of a seamless side that keeps moving back on the home. And that way you don't have kind of an odd jut in 2 foot here to then go down with the addition, which is a little bit more complicated to build and doesn't really achieve a whole lot from staff's point of view. We do feel that this request does meet the spirit and the intent of the ordinance. They did speak to their property owner that's to the west, the one that's most impacted, and she did submit a letter of support. So I'm here if you have any questions about this item.
So really quickly, we did get one inquiry, but the person did not express any concerns.
Thank you.
Thank you. Do any of the members have any remarks?
Does the 700 square feet include the enclosed garage or not?
I believe that it does.
Interesting.
Sounds like these folks want to improve the property, which I'm in favor of.
Me too. I was just on Ash Street the other day.
Michelle, did they, I saw the existing elevations. Did they have any drawings or any pictures of what the existing looks like that they submitted? Like what they,
Here,
before?
I'll show you the proposed elevations, which were in the packet. I'll just pull those up and then I'll do a street view for you. So they've got elevations, the coloring, it is going to be a siding home to match the existing. So this would be the front elevation. You can see the porch here. They do kind of a gable here. And then the side, that's the new rear elevation. So this would be all the additional area. And then this is the left elevation. So they kind of just keep it going straight back with the new roof. And then this is the right elevation. So I'll pull up, if you would like me to, the current street view so you can see what the property looks like. Give me just a minute to get that up on my screen.
Michelle, I have it ready. Can I just pull it up on my screen?
Please go ahead, June.
Mm-hmm. So this is the current house.
Thank you.
Thank you. Looks like a nice addition.
I believe so. It looks a tiny house and they're making it more livable. But, any more discussion? Okay. Do I hear a motion?
I'll motion.
A second?
I'll second the motion. Pam Goodwin.
To clarify, that is a motion to approve the variance as requested.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, I.
James Collier, yes.
Doug Hicks, yes.
Audra Smolinski, yes.
Motion carries. We'll move along to item B, consideration of the following variance request. A, allow a 10-foot encroachment into the required 20-foot rear yard setback with a proposed porch addition on a 0.2436 acre lot located at 617 Mandalay Bay Drive, legally described as Hidden Cove Estates, Phase 1 Addition, Lot 26, Block E, currently zoned single-family residential district R5, as requested by Jennifer J. and Russell C. Rice, the property owners, case number 21-03-2-ZBOA.
Good evening, board members. So the 617 Mandalay Bay Drive, this property is located to the northeast Louisville. This lot happens to sit in the corner where the road takes kind of a 100-degree turn. So they actually have a pie-shaped lot where they have very shallow rear yard, but have larger side yard on both sides. Let me see. Thank you. So the applicant plans to build a porch addition to the rear of the existing home. And the current required setback is 20 feet. And they're asking that it be reduced to 10 feet. Due to the configuration of the lot, the applicant has a shallow backyard. The patio will extend the full length of the house and will extend approximately 15 feet from the face of the wall. The porch will be encroaching into the rear yard at an angle, with about maximum 10-foot encroachment at the corner. If the porch line was to follow the actual rear yard line, it would not provide the covering that they need for the back door that leads them to the backyard. You can kind of see how it's kind of weathered and it's getting deteriorated. So the porch, so this porch will be sitting on 10-foot tall columns, and this house is 2-story tall, and all the surrounding houses are 2 stories tall. Staff does not find anything that's contrary to the public interest, and the applicant did receive a letter of support from 3 of his neighbors. This is the concept. And these 3 neighbors also include a neighbor kind of in the middle lot that are the most impacted. They live in 2837 Elmford. All those neighbors have submitted a letter of support saying that they're okay with this variance. The applicant is also here if you have any specific question for them, but staff is also available if you have any other questions.
Any discussion?
Just checking, did you try to obtain approval from the adjacent neighbor to, I don't know what direction it would be, east or to the right, and then the one that is directly impacted, the one to the right? There were two houses there by chance?
There was two of us, two behind us that we got approval from, and then there was the ones in the green are the ones that we got approval from. The other one in the bottom left corner, we were not able to get a hold of her.
But where the sign is subject property, that house, right? The one, I know that's your house right there, but the house to the right?
To the right, no, we did not contact them because they're not going to be impacted by this at all.
Okay. I mean,
the only ones that we felt that would be impacted by this are the two that are directly below it, on the bottom, and the one to the right, or to the left, I mean, sorry.
It just looked like the one that below the subject property, the one that you didn't. I know you said they wouldn't be impacted, but if they're back on their back patio or in that corner, they can see your property.
Well, we share a very small portion of fence with them. What was it, like 3 feet?
It's only about 6 feet.
6 feet.
And Miss Pamela, they would have like a 6 foot tall screening wall, typically for back fences. And their porch height will be a little bit over 10 foot, maybe at the top of the pitch, maybe 12 feet, I would assume.
Our current 10 feet already.
She's talking about the pitch of the roof.
Oh, the pitch of the roof, sorry.
On the patio cover.
Anything more? Planning's done a thorough job of looking at this. Michelle, do you have anything?
I do not have any additional comments.
Okay. We will entertain a motion to accept this request. Or not.
I'll move to approve.
A second?
I'll second.
Okay, let's have a vote. Roll call vote, please.
Audra Smolensky approves.
Pam Goodwin approves.
Douglas Hicks, aye.
James Collier approves. Motion carries. And now the last but not least presentation by Mr. Kunke about the proposed city charter amendments on the May 1st, 2021 ballot.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, board members. I appreciate you giving me some time to make a very brief presentation this evening. There's an election coming up on May 1st. You're probably aware of that. You know there's a mayor's race and a city council race. There's also 4 proposed amendments to the city charter, which is essentially the city constitution, if you will. And unfortunately, they don't usually get as much attention as a race with candidates, especially a 4-person mayor's race. So we want to make sure that especially our engaged, active residents, such as board members, know what's on the ballot. We presume you are likely voters. And based on that, when you go to the polls, we'd like you to know what's on the ballot so you can make an informed decision. So I'm going to go through a very brief PowerPoint. I'll apologize in advance because a lot of it is just kind of reading what's there. It's not because we don't think you can read. It's because we want to make sure we say the right language. If we say the wrong language, we could be accused of electioneering, and that's a violation of state law, and I would not do well in prison. So I don't take that risk. So I will go as quickly as I can, but slow me down or call me out if you have a question. So the election has been called for Saturday, May 1st for the 4 propositions. Voters will see the 4 propositions. They'll either mark yes or no. Yes if they support it, no if they don't. A majority of yes votes is required, so 50% plus 1. And as I mentioned, there's a couple other races on there too that are probably pretty important. So Proposition A, by the way, propositions are lettered, not numbered. In states, propositions are numbered, locals are lettered. So Proposition A, you can see the wording. This is the actual ballot wording. Should the charter be amended to provide that if, prior to January 1, 2023, the city makes an annexation that increases the geographic size of the city by at least 8%, The size of the city council will be increased from a mayor and 5 council members to a mayor and 6 council members. And also the quorum will increase. You can see that. So what this means is if it's approved and if we annex Castle Hills, that's where the 8% comes in. Castle Hills is a little less than 11% of our current land mass. So annexing Castle Hills triggers it. If we annex them and this ballot item passes, then the city council will increase from 5 members to 6 members, plus the mayor. That changes the quorum. You'd have to have 4 present instead of 3. It changes a 2/3 majority. You'd have to have a 5 out of 6 instead of 4 out of 5. Interestingly, the council has been 5 members plus the mayor since we became a city in 1925. This would be the first time that there's even been a vote on increasing the council, much less increasing the size of council. So we have a population now of 105,000, maybe 107 after the census. After annexation, that'll be close to 120,000. So currently, with 5 council members, 100,000 population, that's about 20,000 residents per council member. After annexation, 120,000 divided by 6, that's about 20,000 per council member. So the ratio is very similar. We do think our build out with Castle Hills is around 150,000, so the ratio would change over the next 20 or 30 years, but that's something that people 20 or 30 years from now will deal with, and I will no longer be in this position 30 years from now. There's a question. Well, we'll get to that. So this would only take effect if there are future annexations of at least 8%, and that's Castle Hills. At this time, we believe Castle Hills will be annexed in December of this year, which means the change would take effect with the May 2022 election. This year we have 5, next year we would have 6. If the annexation does not happen, or if it is delayed beyond the start of 2023, then no matter what happens at the ballot on May 1st, the council size would not be increased without another election. By the way, Castle Hills voters are not Louisville residents. They cannot vote in Louisville city elections until after annexation. It says not until May 2021. That is a typo. It should say May 2022. I will fix that later. So they will not be able to vote in this election. This is Louisville residents only deciding the charter for the city of Louisville. Let me add one quick note here before we go to Proposition B. There's been some discussion about single member or residential districts. Please remember that residential districts were on the ballot in 2017 and were approved by residents. So if we annex Castle Hills, we will go to residential districts. That means we will divide the city up into 5 districts, roughly equal in population based on the census figures that we will receive later this year. And then a candidate would have to live in that district to run for office, but the entire city would vote at large for every position. That is done. That is not on the ballot. The only change is if the new Proposition A is approved, we would divide the city into 6 instead of 5 districts. Okay. Proposition B, and this is probably the easiest one, says, should the charter be amended to eliminate provisions relating to the budget process that are covered by or are inconsistent with state law? This is purely a language cleanup. If there's a section in the charter that differs from state law prevails. In every instance, there is never a time when we can violate state law because the charter says so. There have been a lot of changes to state law. They meet every 2 years, and they like changes, especially in 2019. They passed a very large bill, Senate Bill 2, that had revenue caps and other stuff, and it set a new budget calendar. That budget calendar is extremely different from what we have in our charter. So this would just clean that up by removing all of the dates that are in the charter and just say, we will do this according to state law. So here's the actual changes. Section 902, instead of saying the city manager has to propose a budget by this time, it says the city manager has to propose a budget at the time prescribed by state law. The same in Section 906 about when we notify about a public hearing. The same in 907 when we hold the public hearing. 911 is slightly different. There's a requirement in our charter that printed copies of the budget be made available. We currently put one in the library, one in the city secretary's office. I will tell you, I asked the library and asked the city secretary's office, and they cannot remember the last time someone came and read through that budget. It's about 3.5 inches thick. And we do post it online. It's available online for download, for viewing. So this is not required by state law, but it's consistent with changes because state law said, yeah, you can do this. So this would change Section 9.11. Instead of printing those 3.5 inch booklets and setting them out, they would be available on the website for anybody who wants to use them. And if they don't have access, they can go to the library and use our computers and do the same thing. So that's Proposition B. Proposition C, this is amending the charter to eliminate the requirement that residents of the city who serve on the City Planning Commission own real property. So this is about planning and zoning. Right now, the city charter requires that a P&Z member must own real property. They can't rent. They can't be in an apartment or a rent house. They have to own real property, whether it's commercial or residential. This is not required of any other board in the city. It is not required of city council. Little history, it used to be required of city council. State and federal law changed several decades ago to say, no, you cannot require that because people who rent should be allowed to serve on city council if they're elected. So that was removed, but this provision was not removed out of our charter. Whether it was deliberate oversight, we don't know, but it's still in there. It is the only board with that requirement. So keep in mind also that about a little bit more than half of our residential households are rental properties, apartments or rent houses. That 50+% of residents are not eligible to serve on the Planning and Zoning Commission. They would be eligible if this passes. Members would still have to live in Louisville. That is a requirement that will stay. So the actual language in section 8.04, which describes the membership of the Planning Commission, we would just remove the words "and own real property therein." So that would be the change in Proposition C. Which brings us to Proposition D, and this one probably requires the most explanation for people who are not familiar with how a city works. You are, so you'll probably get this very quickly. The wording is, should the charter be amended to clarify the role of the city manager by deleting a provision giving the city council authority to administer city departments? So in the city charter, there's a list of 22 very specific powers that are given to the city council. The charter also creates the position of city manager. Prior to the charter being adopted in 1963, we did not have a city manager. City secretary largely ran things, and the mayor was very hands-on day to day. But it was a small town. We were fewer than 5,000 residents. So the charter created a city manager appointed by the city council and serves as, this is out of the charter, chief administrator and executive officer of the city. If you picture a corporate structure, the council is the board of directors. The city manager they hire is their CEO. So this establishes a council manager form of government, the most common form of government in the country for cities, most common form in Texas. The vast majority of cities have this. The elected city council sets policy and approves the budget, and then they hire a professional city manager to go carry out those policies and manage that budget. So one of those 22 powers says that the city council has the ability to, here's the wording, establish, create, consolidate, or abolish administrative departments and distribute the work of divisions. That actually defines the role of a city manager. And historically, the city council has delegated all of that authority to city manager. We cannot find any record from 1963 to today that the city council has ever established, created, consolidated, abolished, or distributed a department or division. There are times where they have told the city manager, we think you should do this, or we would like you to do that, and it usually happens. But they do it through the city manager. So the proposition would just remove one power from that list of 22, leaving the other 21 unchanged. And that's section 3.07, powers of the city council, would remove item B, which states, as I said before, establish, create, consolidate, or abolish administrative departments and distribute the work of divisions. Even that comma after abolish, that shouldn't be there, but it really is, it'll go away too. Makes me feel a little better. So this is early voting. Early voting starts on Monday, April 19th. It runs through Tuesday, April 27th. Early voting is any designated early voting site in Denton County. In Louisville, that's the Herring Recreation Center. But there's also early voting sites in Carrollton, in Coppell, in Flower Mound, in Denton. There's a list of sites that's available on the Denton County website that's linked off of our website as well. And then in Dallas County, remember Louisville has a little slice of Dallas County. In the Dallas, if you are a Louisville resident who lives in Dallas County, then your early voting is in Coppell or any location in Dallas County. Dallas County actually has voting centers. So you can go to any voting center, even on election day. And they have the exact same schedule, the 19th through the 27th. Includes one Saturday, includes one Sunday. Election day is May the 1st, 7 to 7, the dates and times you're used to. Polling places are assigned by precinct because this year we have added a second polling place in Louisville. We used to have two. and then we cut down to 1. Well, we're going back up to 2. 1 is at Fred Herring Rec Center. 1 is at Victorious Life Assembly of God. You see Carrollton Public Library listed. That is for the Louisville residents who live in Dallas County. That is where their, I take that back. That is for Far East Louisville. Far East Louisville on Josie Lane will vote at Carrollton Public Library. Dallas County voters can vote at any Dallas County vote center. So you'll see there's 3 early voting locations for Louisville residents in Denton County, and that's by precinct. So just like with a state or federal election, you'll want to look at your card and know your precinct before you go vote. If you're in the south part of the city, you're probably at the Victorious Life. If you're in the north part, you're probably at Herring. If you're on Josie Lane, you're probably at Carrollton Public Library, but check first, because it's very frustrating to drive all the way to a voting center and be told, no, you cannot vote here. And then, of course, Julie Worster in the city secretary's office is available for any questions about voting sites and centers. So having said that, I'm going to stop sharing and see if there's any questions that you have, any explanations I can offer. If I went too quickly, I can repeat anything that you would like.
I think it's a very thorough and informative tutorial.
And I found 2 mistakes I'll go fix. That date was wrong, and there's a hyphen that should be a comma. So I'll fix that. Well, folks, if there's no questions, again, we always encourage you to vote. The city cannot, by state law, tell you how to vote. I cannot tell you how to vote, but I can tell you please do vote for everything that's on the ballot. Local elections matter. So vote local. All right. And with that, I am completed. Michelle?
Okay, Michelle, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I motion.
Second.
Second the motion.
Roll call vote, please.
Audra Smolinski, yay.
Pam.
Okay, approve.
Pam?
Oh, Pam Goodwin, approve.
James Collier, approve.
Yay.
Meeting is adjourned. Thank you all very much.
Good evening.
Yep.
Very good, thanks.